Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. It is for me as I move windows around on my screen here. It's so unprofessional. It is for me. Saturday night, January the 31st, 2015. Actually, it's 1 minute before midnight, so pretty much February 1st now. Wait, 30 days has September, April, June, and November, all the rest. No, 31. Yeah. Today's 31st, yeah. I am a bit tired. The brain not quite working just yet, but it's been a good week. It has been a very busy week. I finally got a channel update out. I had actually recorded that several weeks ago. Recorded the footage. I just hadn't actually recorded the actual update until the day before it went out. So that was the latest I've been on the channel update. But it's just a reflection of how busy I've been with other things at the moment outside of YouTube and recordings. One of the things I was remiss at, and I wanted to try to rectify that now. During the video I said like there was two reasons why I felt like the my subscriber base increased as much as it did, and unfortunately somehow I talked about one of the reasons, and then the second reason I ended up contributing to Soul Zero, which it's not an unreasonable contribution, but I actually intended to contribute it to Burnt Toast. I meant to give him a shout out, and for some reason my brain just drew a blank and I went off on another tangent. But yeah, Toast had actually went and after my holiday Minecraft episode from the LCM server, he went out and actually made a post about it on Reddit on the Minecraft. I got Minecraft on the brain. Our Minecraft subreddit, and there was quite a bit of hits that came in from that. I was very surprised. I was looking at I just happened to be looking at the video, and within about an hour or two, it was up to of me releasing it, or 3 or 4 hours of me releasing it. It was already up to about 100 views. I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? And so I dug into the YouTube analytics, and I was looking around, and all it said was other website. And so I had to sort of dig around a little bit more, and it wasn't really giving me too much. All it said was, Reddit. So I was like, well, this is that's a needle in a haystack. So I did a bunch of searching and trying to figure out where all those views were coming from, because it wasn't the video itself wasn't in the top views. It was just telling me what traffic was there. So I assumed it was something from Reddit, but I couldn't tell if that was the case or not. And I went searching around, and Reddit has the search function in Reddit is notoriously terrible. They still haven't fixed it correctly, but I eventually stumbled upon it, and that was pretty cool. It was very, very nice of him. I'm very appreciative of all the guys on the LCM server and everyone that I've done collabs with or otherwise play in the same sandbox with. Lots of love, lots of respect for all those guys. So thank you very much for that, Toast. Sorry I neglected that in the channel update, but hopefully the channel update wasn't seen that much. This series is listened to a lot more, so it's probably better that I mentioned it here. So props all around. So what? As I mentioned in the channel update, the schedule on my channel is going to be a little bit wonky for the next couple weeks or so, just because I'm so freaking busy. I actually Funny little story here. I intended today on actually recording stuff, and this is the only thing I've managed to record today. And today being 4 minutes ago. I guess I could say technically I recorded something on Saturday because I started at 11:59, but still, I intended to start recording the replacement stuff for now that Forza Horizon 2 is done. The final episode of that just went up. Final episode for now, assuming that there's no more DLC coming out. I was going to start recording some Republic Commando, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I had to actually. There's other things I had to do. I had to get some pants, some dress pants, which I don't wear very often, but it's there's something going on that requires me to purchase some fancy smancy stuff, and replacement belt and all that kind of thing. And also I had to. I've let my hair go for a while. It was starting to get annoying. I generally don't like long hair because it becomes a mess to try to. I have this phenomenon that I like to call Einstein hair, which is when I have longer hair, by the end of the day, even with short hair, by the end of the day, my hair is all messed up. And, I'll start out the day, comb my hair, do all this stuff, make it look great. And then I'll, go outside. Of course, the wind will blow it around because I don't use hairspray because I don't like that stuff in my hair. It'll get all messed up. I'll fix it again when I get into work. And then by the end of the day, it's still all messed up, even though I've been inside all day long. It's just because I don't know why. I end up with just the Einstein hair look by the end of the day. So it's particularly bad when my hair is long. So I needed a haircut and got one. So it's been a day of me trying to just get some things done that I've been neglecting for a while, and unfortunately the recording has suffered from it. But hopefully I can get something else recorded tomorrow for Monday anyway, because there's no Forza for Monday, and there's no Deus Ex Human Revolution for Monday either. I did actually, as part of the Humble Bundle that I got the Director's Cut edition of Human Revolution in. I do have Deus Ex The Fall, and I redeemed the key. So it is sitting in my Steam library right now. I don't know if I'm going to play it or not. I'll record myself playing some of it, and if it ends up being like, I'll record a couple episodes, for a couple hours or so, and if it ends up being as terrible a game as people have said it is, I may not get through it. We'll see. I say that knowing full well that I got all the way through Deus Ex Invisible War, which was the Deus Ex 2, the game that people like to forget was made. And so more than likely that might be something that comes on the channel later. We'll see. There are other RPG-like things that are coming too as well, so I don't want to. Again, trying to balance some things out as best as I can. Also, as I mentioned in the channel update, I have been playing the next Penelope, which is a racing game that is balls hard. So I may also, if I can swing it, I may have a side quest video of that going up on Monday. We'll see. We'll see which one I'm able to do and which one I'm able to get done for tomorrow, because again, it's a jam-packed day for me. Well, today is another jam-packed day for me. So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, on Friday nights, my normal live stream, I did that. I did not. I'm all the way up to the end, to the last final boss of in Evil Quest, and it's it's a doozy because it's another double boss fight, right? Where you gotta fight one and then you gotta fight the next one in rapid succession without a save in between. So I predict that I'm going to end up struggling through that one again, but I wanted to take a little break from that, and since I have a bunch recorded on it already, and I can get a few more episodes out of it, but I wanted to. There was another game in my Steam library that I hadn't even touched yet, that was there that I had picked up a while ago. It's an early access game. I don't remember exactly when I picked it up or when I purchased it. I just know that it was in my library, and I had it on my long list of things that I needed to take a look at some point. So I thought, well, you know what? It looks kind of cool. It's an RPG. It's a 2D platformer with the sort of retro 16-bit pixel art stuff, and it's got RPG mechanics. It's a hack and slash 2D platformer. I guess, is that really a hack and slash? I don't know. Numerous tags that you could throw on there that I don't know if they're entirely accurate or not. But I decided to dig into that sight unseen, and it ended up being quite a good game. It's actually a good game for live streaming. Not so good a game for like doing an LP on, because there's a lot of backtracking in the game. A lot of backtracking. I spent the better part of the two and a half hours that I streamed backtracking and going through areas that I had already gone through. It's also got a lot of it's got the curse of the console, which is, it has the console save points, right? So you have to go to a save point in order to save the game, which meant that, and the save points they're fairly generous, but they're still pretty far apart from one another, to the point where you end up repeating a lot of the game over and over and over again, unless you backtrack and save again and all that stuff. So if there's one big complaint I have about it, it's the save. If you're going to do a lot of backtracking, that save mechanic needs to be correct. It needs to be something that you need to be able to save anywhere. I've never really been a fan of games that are like, you can only save in these certain points, but it's I can understand some of the reasoning behind it. Some of the reasoning is like, hey, if I want this to be a simultaneous release with the same code base on consoles and on PC, then yeah, sure, I can see you doing that without having to fork off your code base and give additional functionality. I can also kind of see the argument that you want to make it a little bit more difficult for the players, and the only way you can drive the difficulty sometimes is by not letting them be able to save at any point in time. But honestly, I feel like that argument's a bit bunk, because the way I look at it is, that is not making me redo things is not increasing the difficulty. It's just making it tedious, and it's making me question why I'm doing it. As a guy who doesn't have a whole lot of time to play games, I'd rather not constantly rewrite the same steps that I've done over and over and over again. But there's a lot of that in Evil Quest too, where it's got the save points like that, and it does get a little bit frustrating. It is very frustrating, and not frustrating in a good way, at least for me personally. Now, for others, it's the type of frustration that they're looking for. it's that masochistic frustration that makes you feel all warm and cuddly inside. But for me, not so much. I prefer being able to do my own, to judge on my own what is an appropriate number of saves, especially in an RPG. RPGs are the one genre where saving early and often is very much encouraged, because of all the, I gotta collect items of power, I'm leveling up, I'm doing all this other stuff, you know what I mean? It works for that. If you're not doing an RPG, you can get away with it a little bit more. But when you've got the RPG elements, it feels lazy a little bit. It feels bad. I don't want to use the term lazy. It just feels bad not being able to save everywhere. That said, Dark Souls certainly doesn't let you save everywhere, as far as I know. The Dark Souls games don't do that because of they want it to be difficult. But yeah, I still feel like the argument stands that you could probably put a save anywhere feature in there. As far as I know, you can't save everywhere in there, but I've never played those games, so I can't tell you for sure. But I feel like they could make it where you'd save everywhere and it wouldn't be that bad. Now, that said, when you have being able to save anytime, I could see there being points where they may disable it. Like, for instance, if you're in the middle of a boss battle, I could see temporarily disabling the save feature so that you have to fight the boss fully from its original health. You can't just, grind your way through it and say like, oh, I'm just going to go with reckless abandon, and as soon as I get him down to a low level, then I can save and then I can reload from there or something like that. Not that would really help though, because in theory, you're saving your own health as well, and if your own health sucks, you're not really going to want to save there. But I could see something like that. I could see there being certain areas like that, but yeah, I mean, even in Destiny, like, they have those areas where you can't respawn within that area. You have to respawn. You respawn back before the area, unless somebody revives you. I forget what they call them. They're like some kind of weird some kind of area. I forget exactly what they're called, but even that I could kind of see. But it's yeah, I can see that. I could kind of see as being a thing. But the idea that there's only these certain save points in the world that you have to go to constantly is a bit tedious in the wrong way. in my humble opinion, as always. Well, that said, Chasm, very, very cool game. Really enjoyed it. I'll be doing more live streams of that. I will be uploading the footage of that. I don't know what time slot I'll be uploading the footage in, but I am cutting it into sort of hour and a half long segments. But I'm doing the normal live stream thing, which is, whenever I die, like, I'm not cutting out deaths and all that stuff. It's just straight. The only thing I did was cut for time and nothing else. So it's a straight, if you like listening to someone in physical pain from dying repeatedly, then that is your cup of tea there. I'm a little bit, when it comes to the channel, I kind of want to keep that to a minimum, because I do feel like people want to see edited things, and I feel like I like to see edited things. So I'm trying not to abuse that too much. That said, there are channels out there that are just that. They're completely unedited. They just, they just have the entire run. And I can see the appeal of that too, where it's like, hey, I missed the live stream, and normally when I listen to a live stream, I'm not watching the stream. I'm just listening to it on a tab while I do something else, and then only looking over when something interesting happens, which is fine and dandy. I am perfectly cool with that. In fact, I do that myself when I'm recording something, like, for instance, if I'm recording Cube World here, since I'm not talking since it's not a live commentary, I can record Cube World playing that while I'm listening to, say, Kurt's Farlands or Bust or something like that. And I know that if I've listened to, 2 or 3 episodes of that I've pretty much hit an hour. I call it the Kurt timer. You've heard of egg timers? I've got the Kurt timer. So it's a so I that's perfectly okay for me. I'm cool with that. Very cool with that. At the same time, I don't want to make that the be all and do all either. I want there to be some videos that are actually watchable. You can actually sit down and watch the gameplay for not just background tab fodder. Speaking of background tab fodder, I'm looking at my spreadsheet here. So I had a couple leftovers from last week that I didn't get to. One of the ones I'm going to talk about right now, as far as news articles goes, there was a Polygon article talking about Twitch and some of the biggest games. Someone ran analytics on the most popular games that are on Twitch as far as people watching them and followers and all that stuff. And I just wanted to look at this and talk about it a little bit, because there's really no surprises here, but I just find it interesting. Just looking at some of the stuff, just doing a sort of a quick look at where all the money be as far as Twitch goes. So as you might imagine, it's a lot of the games at the top are ones that have sort of esports around them. So first off is League of Legends and Dota 2. It's one. They are 1 and 2 there. League of Legends actually is almost actually is more than double the percentage share of Dota 2. Believe it or not, it's 20 according to this 26% to 12% for Dota 2. So those are kind of no-brainers if you've hung around Twitch long enough. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of streams out there, a lot of streamers that are very popular for League of Legends and Dota 2, especially for the esports aspect of it. You know, when there's a lot of Twitch sponsored things, sponsored streams, but also, you know, the practice rounds that people go in through and all that stuff. I was actually, you know, I'm looking at this list. I was actually expecting a lot of like speed running and stuff on here, like games that speedrunners do, but I'm not really seeing any. I mean, some of these games are speedrunner targets, but they're not the classic ones, right? They're just normal playthrough. A lot of them competitive playthrough things. For instance, the number 3 on the list is Hearthstone. That is with 9% share. And then Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or Counter-Strike Go, with also with 9%, sorry, but slightly less view volume. So, yeah, and then right, and then that's just so the top 4 on Twitch. Use my words here at some point. I'm thinking and I'm trying to use words at the same time. Not working out so well past midnight. It's the top 4 on Twitch are all sort of tied to the competitive scene, the esports scene, which makes a lot of sense to me. Of all the things that happen in gaming, esports seems to be the most logical extension to me of things that people want to watch, because people like watching sports, right? And as much as people like watching and following their favorite, you know, hockey players or football players or so on and so forth, they like following and watching their favorite, esports competitors. Watch them practice, watch them become really good at what they're doing, and just marvel at the impressiveness of their accomplishments. These numbers I'm seeing here make total sense to me. There was, as sort of a side note here, and I'm not going to leave a link to this because I don't fully I'm not fully educated as far as the internals of the esports scene, but I was reading an article that was on several of the major sites, and they all linked to the Daily Dot about a recent incident in Counter-Strike Global Offensive where Valve has, I believe, banned several players. I don't remember how many. I think it was, I want to say 4, but then I also want to say 7, so I'm not quite sure what number it is. Banned them from competitive from the competitive certain tournaments. This if it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, that's entirely accurate, because I'm trying to process it all in my head. Like there's so many acronyms like SIVA and all this stuff. I'm like I don't know all these things, but apparently they were there was accusations that they had thrown a match, and then further evidence was found that they did in fact throw a match. And I was looking at some of the videos too that were linked, and it was looking like, you know, I don't normally watch competitive videos, but it did look like there was a couple of checked swings, if you will, if you allow me to use a baseball term there, that happened along the way. That certainly could have been interpreted that way, and it turns out that you know, there's a lot of money that can be had around a lot of these tournaments, and there's all kinds of betting and stuff. There's a whole betting scene now, which is, you know, in my brain means that it's even more legitimate than I thought it was. Like if your sport has gotten to the point where people are putting bets down on it, then you're mainstream almost. Which is, it's quite nice to see, honestly. I know that people have objections to betting in general. I don't generally have objections to it, as long as, you know, as long as the people who are parting with their money understand fully what they're doing. You know, like, it's like, you know, it's money that they intended to part with, and they're not being manipulated into doing it, you know, that kind of thing, which is very rare for that to ever happen, and also, you know, that they don't have some sort of gambling addiction or something like that. But as long as it's all above the board, and it's all, you know, hey, this is just something I do for fun, you know, it's like betting on horses, you know, hey, more power to you, I say. I don't think it diminishes any sports at all, because it's just not the. Now, it can, if it becomes a thing like we're seeing here, where it's there was some match fixing going on, but you know, every sport ends up dealing with that in some way, shape, or form. It's the oldest form of trickery, right? So. It doesn't surprise me that it happens. What more surprised me is that I'm starting to learn some things that I did not fully grasp, you know, before. For instance, I think many moons ago, and I think I talked about this, I could not understand, and I still barely understand, the whole Steam trading card thing, and how it's like you people are looking for the right cards to make, and then you forge cards, and then you can sell them for real world money and all this stuff. And I couldn't quite figure it out. I couldn't quite figure out how things were. Like, cards drop randomly after a certain number of hours of playing and all that stuff. I just never quite figured out the appeal of it. And then I realized, you know, as I was reading this article and I was listening to a little podcast that the article linked to, these players were, you know, there's a lot of money to be had there. They were they reportedly through the match so that they could gain an advantage with the betting, with the betting that was going on, and then as compensation for that, as compensation for throwing the match, the losers were got access to thousands of dollars worth of skins and stuff for CS:GO that they could then put in their libraries and put in their inventories and then sell as needed, and get a whole bunch of money for it, more than they probably would have gotten from any kind of winnings from their team, because they their team would get winnings, but I assume that they get some sort of and here's where my knowledge is completely barren here. I assume they get some sort of stipend from their team, and I assume the team itself just takes the actual reward money and then they just sort of distribute it a little bit. But yeah, I once I started reading some of this, I'm like, oh wow, some of these other concepts that I couldn't quite grasp are starting to actually make a little bit of sense to me. Like I can understand now why people are so possessive of their inventories and all these rare drops and all this stuff, and I can see it now. I couldn't see it before. I'm starting to see what's going on there, and with those pieces in place, I can kind of say like, oh, okay, things are starting to have a logical progression here in my brain a little bit. It's still, the wiring's still not quite right. The light is still flickering a bit, but but it's starting to. I'm starting to get it very slowly, very, very slowly, like an old man starting to get technology. I'm starting to get the whole esports thing. That said, I don't really follow it, so I can't comment anything beyond what I've read or what I've heard, which is very little, and on both camps. So I just thought, as I was looking through this list, I saw Counter-Strike Go, and I was like, oh, I was just reading something about that like 5 minutes ago. Something I wasn't going to mention at all on Cube Ramblings, because again, I have no horse in that race. But I figured, you know what? Tangent time. So back on topic. Some of the other things on the list. Now here's some interesting things that I didn't realize were on here. What is it? Under Call of Duty. World of Warcraft. Let's go up higher here. So the top 4 I just talked about. The 5th one is World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor. So a lot of people doing MMOs on live streams, which another genre that seems to really thrive on a live stream environment, because you're doing a lot of grinding there and a lot of long form things. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I've been, on another side note, on another tangent, I not a big MMO guy, but I've been thinking about there's one MMO that I've backed as an early backer, called the Repopulation, that claims to be a take on, it's a sci-fi game, and it's a take on Star Wars Galaxies, the we messed everything up Star Wars Galaxies, the one that was non-messed up, the one that everybody thinks about fondly. And I never played Star Wars Galaxies, so I have no idea, but I've heard lots of stories, lots of good news and good stories about how it used to be and how entertaining and exciting it was before they made the huge changes to it. And so I was intrigued enough that I was like, you know what, let me just drop some money on this, give these guys a little bit of backing, and take a look at it. And have not taken a look at it yet, but it's still sitting there right now on my desktop here, just staring me in the face. I'm like, at some point I should probably dig into that, and that probably would be a live stream thing. Let's hey, let me dig into this, see what it looks like. We'll do it on live stream. If it sucks, then then it sucks. But if not, we'll see what happens. Because the only other the other MMOs I've played City of Heroes way back before there was any City of Villains, or I think it was like the first part, I forget what they called them. I don't know if they were episodes or whatever they were, like, you know, episode 1 or 2 of it. And then I got tired of the grind because I was doing everything solo, and I had a ton of they had this thing called, every time you lost, you got it was not, you would normally get XP whenever you killed a boss, but then you had, I forget what they called it, but it was kind of like negative XP, except it wasn't, it wouldn't take away the XP you had, but it would fill up the rest of your bar with debt, you know, XP debt. And basically you wouldn't gain any new free and clear XP until you paid off the debt, the XP debt. And at one point I had accumulated about 2 levels worth of XP debt from dying so much because I was trying to solo things. And I was like, screw it, I'm done. So that was my first MMO that I had ever dug into. And I was like, I'm done. That's it. No more MMOs for me. I'm not a multiplayer guy anyway. And then I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, when Star Trek Online went free to play, I downloaded that and played that for a little while, and I enjoyed it. I had a pretty good ship in there too, and it's still actually sitting on my hard drive here. I just haven't been in it in ages, and I think there's some new expansion that came out for it too, because I've seen it on Steam a little bit. I think it was something Delta Omega or something like that. Some expansion for it, and I enjoyed that for a little bit, and then I got tired of the grind of that. I got tired of dying. I got, I think, to the Romulan campaign or something. I was a Federation, and then there was like a Romulan episode that was focused on them, and I was dying left and right. I couldn't, it was just driving me nuts. So I sort of walked away from that. So we'll see if I can find an MMO, if this repopulation MMO is the thing that will bring me back fully into MMOs or not. But I haven't tried it yet. So anywho, back to topic here. So that was World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor. That's number 5 on the list. Number 6 on the list, Minecraft, which kind of goes without saying. It's funny, whenever I actually stream Minecraft from LCM, I get more viewers than I do anything else. Like, I can stream any other game and have maybe 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 regulars, you know, Puka or somebody else will drop in. As soon as I start to stream Minecraft, like, random people who have never seen the channel will tune in. So it's I can certainly, from my own experience, say that yes, people are looking for Minecraft on Twitch. And then right after that is StarCraft 2 Heart of the Storm. That's so Minecraft has like 4% of the share, and half of that, 2% of the share, is StarCraft 2 Heart of the Storm, and then just below that is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and then FIFA 15, which is interesting. I didn't know that people were, I guess it makes sense that people are really into the soccer stuff. I didn't realize that people were just streaming all of the whole season of FIFA 15. Although, to be honest, I haven't, what's the last time I played a football, or not a football, just a sports game in general? It would have to be NHL hockey, I guess. I don't remember what year NHL hockey, though. But I think that was probably the last one I've ever played. Last sports game I played, and that was years ago. On the SNES, I used to love Tecmo Super Bowl. Even Tecmo Bowl on the NES, I loved. I loved both of those games, both on the NES and SNES. It was great. Loved the hell out of it. Also played on the NES. I played Blades of Steel. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I used to play it all the time, just to get to the halftime, the intermission that you would get occasionally, where it was like sort of a shoot 'em up, like a Galaga or something like that. That you would play a little bit of that, and be able to control, manipulate the ship around, just to see how far I could get in. And I always died too early, and I was like, "Ah, this sucks." And then I'd play another game just to see if I could get it again, and it wouldn't come up as a halftime thing. So I remember that. I remember that the most vividly, I think, especially the whistle and the very rudimentary crowd cheer that would accompany it. Yeah, I remember all that. That was great. But yeah, I think Tecmo Super Bowl is the only. I've never played any Madden games. I don't think. At least I don't remember playing any. So that's the last actual, American football game that I've played. And then NHL hockey, I played a very older version of it before they had like super high fidelity player faces and all that stuff. And then not a fan of basketball, so I've never played that. I did play. Having said that, on the NES we did rent. Was it rented or did we buy it? I'm trying to think. My brother and I were both into the NES, and I don't remember he bought it or if it was just a rental that we had back when Blockbuster was a thing where you rented video games from. We had, what was that basketball game called? It was, oh crap, I can't even remember. Double Dribble. That's what it was. Yeah, I remember that. I played that for a little bit. That was pretty cool. I was never very good at it, so I guess technically I did play a basketball game at some point. But I was, I don't really even count that because that was the era. The NES was the era where I tried everything almost except for puzzle games, and it was also the era where I couldn't play. And it's weird because I still have that in my head a little bit. I couldn't play games that were very dark, had a very dark theme to them, and enjoy them. And I still have that problem today too. It's like, there's all these like horror games out there. Not horror games. I don't play horror games because I make fun of them. But there's some games, like some platformer games and stuff, that just for some reason the art style is is dark, and it's intended to be dark, but it for some reason it puts me off. I can't deal with it. I think what's a recent one that I can think of? The Gianna Sisters, something Gianna Sisters, which was a 2D platformer thing, which I probably would have enjoyed playing, but I couldn't get past the art style. It was too dark for me. I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I don't really like that. I'm gonna not do that. And the same thing is true with the to a certain extent with the zombie or apocalyptic games, I should say, like Fallout, for instance. I have nothing against Fallout or Fallout 3 or any of those games. I would probably enjoy them. It's just they're a little bit too, for some reason, dark for me, and I just can't enjoy them for whatever reason. I can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger on why it is. And yet, when I get a hold of a game that's very, very colorful, like Cube World and stuff, I can't get enough of it because I just love how colorful and there's an extent to that, right? If it's too colorful, if it's too cartoony, I'll probably be put off by it a little bit. But if it's very colorful and not overly cartoony, like cell shaded and all that stuff, more than likely to enjoy it even more. I don't know why. It's a weird thing. I guess it's a happiness versus emo thing that I just can't get past sometimes. But yeah, how did I even get off on that tangent? Oh, I was talking about sports games, right? Because of FIFA. And then after FIFA, Destiny has 1% of the view share, according to this. And then Arma 3, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Again, that's not that makes perfect sense to me. I see a lot of that out there. DayZ, Grand Theft Auto 5, Smite, which is actually pretty low on the list for something that may have a competitive scene eventually. RuneScape, which is a game that I keep hearing is terrific and awesome and fantastic, and I still have not played it. It's an older game. It's been out forever and ever and ever. And every time I look at it, I'm like, man, that looks kind of grindy. I don't know if I really want to deal with that. And yet I constantly see it out here as being something that people just love. So I feel like I'm missing out. There was a Minecraft server that I was looking at called Scapecraft that put RuneScape in Minecraft. And I was thinking of actually joining them at some point, but I was on their subreddit and everything, but apparently their server host just disappeared one day, so they don't have a server right now, as far as I know. So maybe it was a good idea that I I didn't get into it right away. World of Tanks, Magic the Gathering, very low on the list. World of Warcraft, Mists of Pandaria. I don't know why they... Not sure why they separated those two, but I guess it doesn't really matter. And Ultra Street Fighter 4. And then other games is just... Well, other games actually is 19%, it says, of the share, which is interesting. I don't know why. I guess they... Oh, because there's 2,771 of them. That's why they put them under other and put them down at the bottom. Okay, got it. So that's the top sports, the top things on Twitch by view volume as far as the fourth quarter of 2014 when this was done. So very interesting stuff. And also what they found in this study is that the release of a major title will temporarily disrupt the traffic of major Twitch games in a similar genre. And they've plotted here Call of Duty Advanced Warfare versus Counter-Strike Global Offensive. When Call of Duty Advanced Warfare launched, its views skyrocketed, and the similar views for Global Offensive plummeted. And then as the newness of it wore off, then the line comes back down below Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Everything kind of bounces back up again. So very interesting stuff. Also, it looks like they did it for WoW as well, for Warriors of Draenor versus Hearthstone. So interesting stuff. I just wanted to sort of dig into that a little bit. I'll leave a link to the, which I think I had it from Polygon, right? Yep. I'll leave a link to the Polygon article, which talks a little bit about it, but they provide a link to the actual full report, which is what I was reading from a little bit before with all the graphs and stuff on it. So you might want to, if you're interested, if that's sort of piques your interest. I don't know why it would, but if it does, if it does pique your interest, you might want to take a look at it and see what it's all about. So, the next big thing on my list is Nintendo announced this week a creators program, and this is for people who put up YouTube videos of Nintendo properties to basically do it in a way that Nintendo will bless it and allow you to monetize it by taking a cut of their own. And we know that Nintendo's been kind of a little bit paranoid, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word to use. The hammer has been out for a bit from Nintendo, where there was a wave of content takedowns and takedown notices and strikes put on people's videos and channels who were prominent Nintendo video producers or video producers of games that are Nintendo content. And then they kind of cooled off a little bit when the community backlashed against them. And they sort of, but it never was put to rest, right? It was always like, it was always in the back of our head, the idea that they were going to come back again and have some other alternative means here. Unfortunately, unlike other companies like Microsoft, who just basically just said, hey, let us just put in writing what we like and what we don't like, and we'll let you go at that. Instead of just putting it in writing, they decided to basically become what looks like a Nintendo, that is. They've become basically a multi-channel network, sort of, from what I'm gathering, from what I'm reading here. And for those unaware, multi-channel networks are basically middlemen on YouTube. Way back in the day, when Google was being constantly, punished by with all kinds of lawsuits from Viacom and everything else about content that was appearing on YouTube, they put into place the whole Content ID system. But even then, the Content ID system was not catching all the offenders that it could catch, and still to this day, it doesn't catch all the offenders. So they do go through channels with a human being from time to time and flag things as well. Particularly when it comes to monetization, they have that random pick where a human will actually look at the stuff and approve the monetization of content on a channel. But there are not enough humans to do that on Google's payroll to make up for all the videos, the constant stream of videos incoming that are being monetized. So they originally created multi-channel networks to try to help with that. So these networks would be, people would partner with these networks. These networks would take a share of the revenue after Google takes their share. And then they would be charged with, they would be able to allow the people underneath of them to bypass the normal Content ID stuff and the waiting period and various other things for monetization. They can get instant monetization as long as they would vouch for them and say, hey, yes, we've looked at the content and it is kosher, is good to go, all the permissions are correct for it and everything else. So flash forward to now, Nintendo, it looks like they're trying to be a multi-channel network from the looks of it, where creators would sign up as for the Nintendo Creators Program, if you're doing YouTube videos on Nintendo properties, and you could either sign up your entire channel, which means that every video, even ones that aren't Nintendo-owned videos, Nintendo would get a cut of the revenue for. Or you have to do it on a per video basis. So every time you upload a video, you'd have to send it to them and all that stuff. So in exchange, I believe Nintendo, for every, I'm looking at it right now, for every individual video you put up, Nintendo will take 60% of the ad revenue. For every channel, they'll take for every video you put up, Nintendo will take 40% of the ad revenue, giving you 60%. For every channel that you get approved for use in their creators program, they will only take 30% instead of 40%. So they're trying to encourage you to sign up your entire channel so that they get more revenue for things that they don't own. Basically, particularly if you're a variety channel. But then again, a lot of the channels that do Nintendo content exclusively do Nintendo content, or almost exclusively are Nintendo content things. So that is in addition to everything else that comes out. So if the person is so YouTube right off the bat takes, I believe, 55%. So if your video were to make $1, in revenue for the views on it. Google right off the bat takes 55 cents, I believe, off of that, leaving you with, I think they take 55 cents. Is it 55? I think it's a 55-45 split. So yeah, I think they take 55 cents and they leave you with 45, if I'm not mistaken. I've never monetized anything, so I don't even know. And then on top of that, if you're already in some sort of multi-channel network, a lot of them, depending on what contract you have with them, they may take another 40% of the 45% that was left over from YouTube. So, and I'm not even going to attempt to do the math. I'm not even going to try it. But that 45 cents that you have has now been cut by another 40%. Which, yeah, you're getting into like fractions of a cent now. And then, on top of that, Nintendo will take another, if you do an individual video, will take another 40% off of that, leaving you with whatever pittance is left. Total Biscuit actually, in his latest content patch video, actually talks about this. He has actual numbers that he calculated, so you can probably listen to him, and he's far better at this stuff than I am. So I'm just he'll do the topic far more justice than I can. So you might want to listen to that. But essentially, it's everybody's taking a piece of the pie at that point. The interesting thing here is I don't know what effect that this is going to have as far as the community. Right now, a bunch of YouTubers have spoken out against it, it is kind of a weird deal. It's not really a fair shake. If I were to, if I were to look at it objectively, it doesn't feel like it's a fair shake. For a lot of YouTubers, but I'm more concerned with, since I don't know all the ins and outs of monetization and stuff, I'm more concerned with what kind of chilling effect this might have, or how successful this will actually be. I have a feeling, based upon the almost zealotry that you see from people who do lots of Nintendo stuff, and to be fair, Nintendo games have always been, well, for the most part, pretty damn good. I've played plenty of them myself. I would never record myself and put it on YouTube with a Nintendo video, because I prefer not to call an airstrike down on my position. It's the same thing. I get kind of weird. I get that weird bottom of my pit in my stomach feeling whenever there's a Sega game as well, because that whole Shining Force thing that happened before I had any kind of channel on YouTube. So I always have that in the back of my head. So I'm like, you know what? I'm probably not going to attempt them, even though I'm not monetizing anything. They seem to be very desperate for money at the moment. So it's like, yeah, let me just let me not poke that tiger right now. So I'm wondering whether, some of the bigger Nintendo channels, that are either exclusively Nintendo or very damn close near to it. I'm wondering if they're going to accept this deal or not, or if they're going to just wing it and hope for the best. On the one hand, it's nice that they have a policy now. On the other hand, it doesn't seem like it seems like it's going to go over like a ton of bricks. and I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of zealotry about Nintendo, that, they can almost do no wrong almost, from a lot of different sectors. So there may be quite a few people that just sign up for it and just say, hey, whatever, they get whatever they get out of it. And I don't know, if it becomes successful, are other are other studios going to follow suit? I don't know. That's, I think, the most worrying thing that most of us are kind of worried about is, like, you know, if this Nintendo thing, if they come back with numbers that are like, hey, we just made some record profits because we did this thing, which I honestly can't see, because I don't think they realize just how little money actual YouTubers get. But if for some reason they did do that, even if it was a lie, I worry that others will follow suit, and then it will become a very, very interesting place indeed. And what happens to people like me who don't monetize stuff? Do we get caught up in the dragnet too? How much is Nintendo going to bet on this, right? Are they going to, you know, if there's channels that don't sign up, you know, people who don't sign up for that Nintendo Creator Program, are they going to be extra aggressive at going after the content again? Are they going to go back to their old practices where they just started, you know, that couple weeks there where they were just really being mean and nasty and just throwing copyright strikes to the wind on everybody? Are they going to continue with the same process they're continuing now, which is they might just claim 100% and not do much else? Are they going to demand takedowns for people who aren't in the creators program? I don't know. I think that will determine what kind of response I think happens, right? If it ends up being still business as usual, and this is just another thing that they've put out there, and a few people take advantage of it and a few don't, is that, I mean, is it effective? Is it, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know if it's what it's going to do there. I'm also kind of concerned. Like, I'm looking at the list of games here. There's actually some of their games, as far as I know, aren't actually on this list. So you can't, like, if you do record those games and upload them to YouTube, you can't make them participate in the Nintendo Creators Program, which I assume makes them fair game for a strike or something. I have no idea. But I'm wondering, like, I'm seeing, like, I've been watching a lot of speed runs and stuff now, particularly the ones from the Awesome Games Done Quick. I'm watching the YouTube videos that were recorded from the live stream, and I'm looking on here, and I'm like there's F-Zero X is on here. That's one of the speed runs that I saw. There's a lot of speed runs of Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link. That's on here too. Zelda 2, The Adventure, well, not Zelda 2. A Link to the Past is the one I wanted to say. But I'm looking at Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link on here. And various other things, Donkey Kong Country, and so many other things here. And you know, Mario, of course, obviously. And I'm wondering, like, as a guy who enjoys speedrunning now, I enjoy watching some of these speedruns. Are they going to get claimed now that they're on YouTube? Is Nintendo going to require takedowns, even though, you know, they're not traditional Let's Plays? They're just speedruns. How does this affect reviews? You know, are they going to make takedowns of reviews? What happens if somebody has a review that's unfavorable of a Nintendo game? Is that going to not be copacetic with them? Are they going to only allow certain viewpoints to happen? Are they going to do the thing that some other companies do, which is say, you know, hey, if you want to monetize content, you can't say certain things. It has to be G-rated, your stream or your video or whatever. You can't swear or curse. You can't say certain things. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. There's already some of that in place for some videos. Like, there are some videos, some game companies that if you curse or swear or you say something otherwise, not so much the cursing and swearing, but if you say something, you know, bigoted, I should say, or racist or something, while playing one of their games, they might revoke the privilege of you having, you know, being able to monetize that, or otherwise even have the video up. They might require a takedown of the video, you know, a forcible strike takedown. So sometimes if you know, I know sometimes people are on the fence about, hey, should you or should you not curse or say certain things in a YouTube video? And you have to remember too, sometimes if people aren't cursing in something, it might be because they're afraid of getting a strike from the company in particular, because there are some, you know, if you read some of these things, sometimes there are, you know, stipulations put in place for that. But you know, all that becomes an issue. And what happens if you don't monetize? Like if you're just someone like me who just does things for funsies, and you don't monetize any of your videos, are you still, I would imagine you're still subject to this. What happens to you? Are they still going to require takedowns? Are they going to require you to now monetize your things, even though you didn't want to monetize them in the first place? Like, I don't know. Because the thing with Content ID is they can force that, right? They can force you to monetize things that you didn't intend for it to happen. So I don't know. These are all questions in my brain. I have no answers. I have only questions. And I also have no more time left, unfortunately. I have talked at length at this, which is kind of what I figured when I was coming up with things to talk about here with topics, even though I have more topics on the list here. But I figured I would spend quite a bit of time on this, even though there is no real conclusion that I can come to, unfortunately. But as I said, that will do it, I believe, for this episode of Cube Ramblings. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and I will see you next Sunday.